You know, when someone says something that stings, you look at them, surprised, and before you even know what to say, they smile and add, "Relax, I was just kidding." Now something strange happens. Before they said that, this was about what they said. Now it's suddenly about your reaction. Are you being too sensitive? Can't you take a joke? Should you just laugh? How can a tiny sentence, "I was just kidding," completely change the conversation? Imagine you're walking upstairs with your mother. She follows you all the way up to your apartment. When you reach the top, she laughs and says, "You know what? You walk like an elephant." You don't laugh. Maybe you're just a little surprised. Maybe you're a little embarrassed. Whatever it is, your face changes. And your mother notices immediately. She raises her hand, smiles, and says, "Oh, come on, I was just kidding." Or maybe it happened to you at work. You just finished a presentation to the board, but you're not sure about their reactions. A colleague pats you on the shoulder and says, "Don't worry, nobody was really interested in what you had to say anyway." Then he grins, "Hey, I'm just kidding, buddy." Or you're already so stressed because your final paper is due in 2 hours and your brother spills his drink on your printed draft. You panic. Instead of helping, he laughs and says, "Did you take your meds today? Come on, I'm just kidding." Different situations, same feeling. It's not just that their behavior and words hurt, it's what happens after. When someone says, "I was just kidding," the rules suddenly change. A moment ago, you were reacting to what they said. Now you're expected to prove that your reaction is reasonable, and that's surprisingly difficult. Most of us do one of three things. Sometimes we say nothing, we swallow it. Maybe because we don't want to make things awkward. Maybe because we are not even sure if we are allowed to feel hurt. Sometimes we laugh, not because it's funny, but here's the strange part. Sometimes they really were joking, or at least thinking they were. And sometimes we fight back. None of these reactions feel very satisfying. And what's interesting is once you understand what's really happening, the words become surprisingly simple. Because the problem is that this little sentence often turns into an argument about who's overreacting instead of a conversation about what actually happened. You stay quiet, but it stays with you. You laugh, but it still hurts. You argue, and now both of you are defending yourselves. The original moment never really gets resolved. "I was just kidding" often changes the conversation from what was said to whether you are allowed to feel hurt. And that's why these moments can linger for days. Remember, you don't have to decide whether it was a joke before you decide how it landed. I don't think the solution is proving they weren't joking or how bad their joke was. I think the solution is changing the subject. Stop talking about the joke. Talk about what happened. Take the mother from the first example. You could say, "I know you wanted to make a joke, but that one actually landed a little harder than you probably meant it to. Let's leave the elephant jokes downstairs next time, okay?" Notice what that does? You're not accusing her of being a bad person. You're not pretending it didn't hurt. You're simply describing the impact. Or imagine the student whose paper was ruined. Instead of attacking back, she could say, "Right now, I don't really need a joke. I need you to understand how serious this is. Can you help me figure this out?" Again, no accusation, just clarity. Or the colleague after the presentation. If you honestly think my presentation could have been better, I'd genuinely like to hear that. But if it's just a joke, it doesn't really help. Now, will this always work? Nah. Honestly, some people don't really want a real conversation. They use jokes because they don't want to take responsibility for what they say. But sometimes the other person really didn't realize how their words landed. You can't control that, but that's not really the point. The point isn't to change them. The point is that you no longer have to pretend nothing happened. Maybe the next time someone says, "Relax, I was just kidding," don't start by asking yourself, "Am I too sensitive?" Try asking something else instead. What happened to me when I heard those words? Because once you can answer that, you're no longer arguing about whether it was a joke, you're finally talking about what actually happened.